All right, welcome everybody. Welcome, Ged. How's it going?
Grinding away every day. What are you saying?
Well, we got ourselves the Acolyte premiere, 2-episode premiere.
A
last
banger.
night.
And I watched it late last night. I was like, oh, God.
So solid hour of television. Before we get into it, I just want to just address a little bit of the drama of the show.
Okay.
I swear this show has had the most, I don't know what you want to call it, hate essentially before a show's even aired. It's been called everything from the Wokalite to everyone just trash.
The Wokalite.
Yeah. People aren't liking when I say people, there's corners of the internet that do not like the very diverse cast. And then it seemed like the media tour they were doing for this, every single word any actor or Leslie Headland, the creator, or even all the way up to Kathleen Kennedy said was taken and interpreted in a way that the show was going to be terrible. And it's too bad that some people might not give this show a chance, because I think so far what we've seen is, I think it's pretty promising. Like the lead up to Andor was kind of the opposite. It wasn't that people were hating on it. The people lead up to Andor was nobody cared, right?
Yeah.
Andor ended up being fantastic. And now with this one, there's been a lot of drama based on some of the messaging going on behind the scenes. But did all that messaging have anything to really do with the actual quality of the show itself? The only way to know that is to actually watch what we're getting, and let's get into what we saw.
Yeah, and I guess hold up before we dive into the meat and potatoes of it, and we talked about this on the Ring of Power as well, and people were losing their mind that there was a black elf. I think the first thing I would say about the show is I didn't feel like there was a massively woke agenda thrown at me. The story itself and the villain, we'll talk about it. It makes sense that they're portrayed the way that they're portrayed.
Yeah, story wise,
you know what I mean?
Again, I might be oblivious to messaging and stuff like that, because I just it to me. I don't know. It doesn't register because I don't care. I'm just looking at the story. Yeah. But diverse cast. But we basically got a cool murder mystery set in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. I don't know what's kind of not what's not to like. Yeah,
the story makes sense so far,
and it's different. It's different. It feels fresh. We start off immediately. We get to a planet and we see one of our main characters, May, is described in the opening kind of sentencing, right?
Which Star Wars looked style. Like old Star Wars. I was so pumped about that.
Yeah, that she's an assassin and has been training in the dark corners, or an evil's been rising in the dark corners of the universe, some to that effect. Mm-hmm. So she's there, and I knew this was going to happen. I think almost everyone, if you'd seen the trailers and some of the interviews, knew that Carrie-Anne Moss was not going to be long for this show.
I was a little bummed to see her go so quick.
Even Ned Stark would, be saying something about how brief this appearance was.
Yeah.
But just touching down the planet looked great. Production looked awesome. I loved all the different aliens and stuff like that. The environment, you can tell they're not using the volume. It looked a lot more less digital, so to speak.
Yeah, it definitely looked a lot more organic. Probably a great takeaway from Andor. There's a lot of real sets there. Yeah, I like that.
And and then just to I've never read the High Republic stuff. You haven't, so we haven't had any. I haven't had any. Well, I've had some very high level exposure to the High Republic and some of the storylines, but it's a different era for the Jedi, right? We have this Jedi Master is just kind of stationed on this planet, I guess, so to speak. And she's just chilling in the bar, and May goes up and challenges her. We can get into a little bit, but she can't draw a weapon on her or something like this. Her master has these set plans or for her training or whatever.
And it's referenced later on.
Yeah,
about destroying them with a weapon rather than destroying the dream. The Acolyte can destroy the dream. Yeah.
But we got a great fight with Space Trinity, and the choreography I thought was good. I think I've seen in interviews they've been calling it Force Fu.
I liked it.
Which I feel fits, right? Like when Keanu was
Yep.
doing John Wick, they're calling it gun fu.
Yep.
Now we're getting some force fu. I thought the choreography was good. I don't know if you were liked some of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon stuff of them just kind of.
It was all for it.
Dancing up the railings.
All for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was very good, and I thought her as a master was besting May pretty handedly.
Oh.
But for May to win that fight, I also thought was a clever way for her to get the other hand. It wasn't that she was more powerful. It's just she took what she knew about the Jedis and what their sole purpose and stuff like that was and used it against her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Threatening to kill innocent life opened up the window for her to kill her, right?
Yep.
So I thought that was well done because you can't be, because I've seen stuff like, oh, Mary Sue type stuff, like, oh, she's so powerful, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that's BS. She was not nearly as powerful. She just outsmarted her. It's all that.
She exposed the weakness in the Jedi, the moral compass. Yep.
Yeah.
I love the fight scene
and everything we've got. Yeah.
Ended.
And she's been training. We don't know how long yet, right? But the event where her and her sister, which we'll get into, was I think 16 years ago. So
Correct.
She's been presumed dead and lost since then. So we don't know when she was in the presence of her, master, how long that training's been going on. Obviously, if her sister was in the order, she would be obviously equally force sensitive. So there's a lot of context with her being a potentially very, viable threat, right? And killing 4 Jedi masters would obviously make her, highly, a big threat. So I thought that all played out cool. And then we get to the next shot of OSHA working on the space station. And at first, you don't know there's a twin situation going on first.
Yeah, I legit thought we were looking at someone who had split personality, or was
at first I thought she was just
disguise.
deep undercover and is just sneaking off and using maybe this Trade Federation vessel, which I thought was cool. We got the the Trade Federation
nice
cameos
to see the Viceroy.
Yeah, they looked great. So that was cool. And then she gets a message saying, I got another job. So I'm like, oh, she's got someone else to kill coming in, but then it wasn't. And I'm just like, what's going on here? And then she willingly gives, when the Jedi come there to get her, she kind of willingly gives her up. And when she's in prison, they're like, come on, we're getting out. She's just like, well, I'm fine. She's like, you want to go be interrogated by the Jedi or whatever? She's like, yeah, I'll go to the Jedi. I'm just like, what's going on with her?
Yeah,
you think she'd be wanting to get
confused.
out? And then we get they eventually drop it on us that she has a twin out there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when they crash, she has the dream where she finally sees her twin or sister.
So again, I didn't know that was
Darth.
a separate person. When she has the dream, again,
you thought she was maybe viewing herself? Yeah.
I thought this was almost like an evil Rey, good Rey moment. Now,
I thought that too. Yeah, maybe that was
cool.
Stuff, her personality in her that expressed herself.
Absolutely.
It's
through trauma and
Yeah, so cool. I know Star Wars does a lot of twin stuff, right? Some of those stories are just kind of recycled, but I thought the way they handled it, I enjoyed it. It was a nice little twist on things.
And again, to the people that are saying it's too woke and too diverse, the story of having a family and a fire that has twin girls and one is presumed dead, to me is just good writing. They don't have to be boys. This isn't something where they've created a character out of necessity. I wouldn't have written it. I'm sure you wouldn't have written it any other way. The casting has been fantastic so far.
Yeah, and there's one thing Kathleen Kennedy said, because she's getting a lot of hate lately.
Always.
Again. I don't know how she just hasn't quit just to stop dealing with the bullshit. God. But we talked about it. She has a huge package if she just walks away. Huge. The compensation. Anyways, she was explaining that when Leslie Headland came with her and wrote the story treatment for The Acolyte, she's like, yeah, you wrote a great story, but I want you to sent it back to her and said, I want you to write a Leslie Headland story. And I guess they selected her or liked her because I can't remember the show she did, but I obviously didn't watch it. But it was Kathleen characterized as a great family-driven character drama. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I want you to build that, make that your story, but then dress it up as Star Wars. And within the first 2 episodes we see, I could kind of see some of that shining through, which is nice because sometimes we don't, some of our complaints with some of the Star Wars stuff is that piece of it's kind of been missing. Lots of paper-thin characters, you don't really care for them. And not that we're super invested yet.
Andor nailed that, right? They did such a good job of starting to develop
making us care about a one-note character who died in a movie, right?
Correct.
Like, so, like, that was very well done. So I feel like, again, I don't know if we're necessarily all the way there, but they are laying the pieces where I'm definitely intrigued on where we're going, and I think it's going to ramp up to those levels, right?
Yeah.
Just like Andor, right? That was a slow burn, story-driven burn to get to the 3-arc payoffs, right?
Yeah. And again, just kind of climbing onto the Andor train. If there's maybe one thing that they took away from Andor, is a percentage of us loved the fact that it took 5 or 6 episodes to build. I like that they've introduced a bit of punch in each. So you're developing these characters, but you're giving that fan service as well. So again, I think it's almost like I hear you. You want a cool story that's different, but you don't want such a slow burn that you need something to keep you interested. So
absolutely. We get some shots on Coruscant. We're introduced to Jedi Master Soul, who's training younglings.
Best.
He tells them to go for lunch, which I don't know if that's been talked about in the Star Wars universe. But I know he was hesitant on taking the role because he was worried about it being an English-speaking role. But I thought he obviously speaks slowly, but I thought it adds to like the gravitas of his character, right? He comes off as very...
He's not English first language? He looks familiar, but I don't really
Squid
know
Games.
who he is.
Did you watch Squid Games? Yeah, that was the main
Oh, that's a Squid Games guy.
Yeah, the main dude, yeah. But yeah, I love the way he portrayed the Jedi, and you could tell there's a lot going on. You know what? He kind of reminded me of a blend between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon a little bit on how he views things. Like, he's very much teaching, but then, you know, they've got on him the other Jedi Master. I don't know her name. I know she's in the books, but it kind of seems to be his senior. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of lectured him a few times about
Strancity or Vitrant,
she's kind of lectured him a few times about attachment and stuff like that. And even his Padawan, I think, questioned it at one point. And he's explaining it as memories, as lessons and stuff like that. But you could tell he very much has a soft spot for Osha. And, like, there was a belief that, no, she couldn't have done it, even though they said they had, like concrete evidence, right?
Okay, so without putting too much thought into it, do you agree that from what you know of Star Wars, which is more than I do, the greatest Jedi, the most insightful, greatest Jedis, do have attachment? You cannot tell me Yoda was unattached. We know that Obi-Wan Kenobi was legitimately in love with what's her name from Clone Wars, the Queen.
Well, I'd argue
Anakin
Yoda
Skywalker.
actually is unattached. Yoda would be the one I would say is, but Anakin definitely was. Obi-Wan definitely has been.
Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon definitely walked a different path than everyone else.
Yeah.
It's... And you know what? The way I would interpret it is it's probably something they have to just practice over and over and over again, because it's such innate in everyone to form attachments, right?
But you look at Jord. The younger knight.
Yeah.
Like, he is the visualization of unattachment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're doing a good job of being like, it doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, because he was looking at every instance to take in what we presume was a very good friend of his. Mm-hmm. Like, just not... You could tell there's that one moment where she, like, punches him or whatever, like, kidding around, and you could tell he didn't like that.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no, I am a Jedi Knight, and these are the rules. But yeah, to your point exactly, he's very much the definition of... Well, he comes off as not having attachments.
I find it interesting that he's a knight, so he's not granted master, but uses a yellow saber.
Yeah, that stuff all came out in the High Republic.
Because temple guards used yellow sabers.
Wait till you see the lightsaber whip that's going to be unleashed probably next episode.
But you know what I mean? Like, a yellow saber was for temple guards, which was those who were not force sensitive, but took an oath to protect the Jedi. But he's a Jedi Knight. He should be carrying, if I had to guess, a blue saber. It's odd that he has a yellow saber. It was the first thing that jumped out at me when his saber ignited.
Yeah. Well, Rey had one.
Rey had one at the end because she wasn't about the religion. It was about the next steps. But as a traditional Jedi Knight, you carry a blue or yellow. A blue or green. If you are a temple guard, you would carry yellow. So yeah. Anyway, I like the saber stuff the way that you like the ship stuff. I was instantly, I'm like, there's something here that's amiss.
Well, if you want to talk about amiss and ship stuff, I do have a few negatives on this episode.
Let's hear it.
Ship design. I thought the Trade Federation vessel looked good, but the Jedi ships they've been driving around are just like unimaginative. Like they're just blah. Like they didn't look very cool design at all. We see in the trailer that I think the one Jedi fighter or something like that they're using to chase May looks a little bit better, but that little shuttlecraft they were using to transport around just looked very meh. Like I feel like you could have did better.
Fair.
And then again playing with the ships a little bit when Osha's on the prison transport and they stop the hyperspace jump and they like immediately come out in an asteroid field. To me, it didn't make sense.
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, those you've seen it time and time again. Like hyperspace coordinates and jumps are calculated so you avoid asteroid fields and planets and stuff like that, right? So to drop out literally in the middle of an asteroid field, that was
highly unlikely.
I know you wanted the drama of the ship being damaged, but like there could have been numerous ways to do that for her to whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little silly. I know some people will say like the fire burning in space on the outside of the ship was silly, but like it's Star Wars, ships explode in flames all the time. That doesn't.
No issue there.
That's already an established universe thing, so that doesn't bother me. But yeah, especially with the hyperspace jump being old droids, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was a human mistake. Those droids would have been put in the right coordinates and stuff like that. So that was it bugged me just a little bit, but again, that's just it's a nitpick. It has no effect on the overall show itself.
Nope, that's fair.
And then so Saul's granted the task of searching for May. Essentially, he gets to take Osha with him because she could be an asset to obviously finding her twin sister. They go through this whole thing on the other planets. Did you think it was interesting that she was able to convince the Jedi Master, I can't remember his name, but essentially convince him to commit suicide?
No, but there is a lot to the story. If anything, there are demons. So he took that vow of silence or whatever it is he's doing. They said for over 10 years. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Master Torben took that oath after Brecken or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Something happened on that planet that are demons that they have been haunted with. Yeah. And Torben, when he came in, he's like, I've been waiting for you. Yeah. And he apologized.
He alluded to it, and she said, I know you've been fighting these demons, blah, blah, blah. And then he willingly takes the poison. So I think there's going to be
such
a
great
lot
writing.
More. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more to what happened, right, on that planet. From Sol and Osha's point of view, it was May who started the fire, was it not? Who they said?
Mm-hmm.
And they presumed her dead. And then from May's point of view, it seems like she's raging because her sister was killed. Right? So they're both shocked each other are alive. Yeah. So character-wise, like I already mentioned, I really like Saul. I actually really like what the Osha's portrayal, but May, I feel we're just lacking a little bit because we don't know her motivations quite yet, right? She's just going around killing Jedi Masters.
I hope that's on purpose. I hope.
I think, and then they're going to slowly unravel, whether it's flashbacks or whatever. We're going to see more. You know what? Maybe we'll see actually more of Carrie-Anne Moss in flashbacks.
Yeah.
Because those 4 were stationed on that planet. So, we're going to... And then it'll be interesting to see if her master... right, the May's master had some manipulation going on to create that scenario to cause one of the sisters to go out towards the dark, right?
How about the fact we got to see Kofar, by the way? The Wookiee planet.
Well, is that a Wookiee planet? The main Wookiee planet is Kashyyyk.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But it's Jonas Sutomono, whatever his name is, the actor who plays Chewbacca. He's whatever that Wookiee Jedi's name is.
Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt to say that one.
So he's up next on the chopping block, so to speak. But yeah, other than that, like I like where the mystery's going. I enjoyed the twin twist. Maybe they could have milked that for another episode, but I actually like that we maybe got resolution kind of right away to know where we're heading.
Mm-hmm.
I thought all the sets looked great, the aesthetic looked great. Just all the little things, right? Like everything from the door droid, like a different take on like Jabba's door droid, but similar concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Jedi shuttle was using not a hyperspace ring, but like a device to take it to hyperspace. So like a lot of those, you could tell there's a lot of thought into how Star Wars works in the Phantom Menace era, and how do we take that technology, use it here, but slightly change it around a little bit. So it actually looks like there was a lot of care done to really make it feel like a Star Wars show, right? And I didn't have any complaints in that way, visual or stuff like that. Any other thoughts on the two episodes before I just want to talk about theories real quick?
No, I mean, I can't get over the takeaways that look like that they received from Andor and how they've acted on them. The story writing is brilliant. I think it's been a great start to the show. Yep.
Okay, so theory-wise, we know we have May, who's an acolyte. We know she has a master.
Mm-hmm.
I heard
Darth Jar Jar.
I heard it was explained. I think Leslie had it explained, if I'm recalling this correctly, that the Sith obviously operate on Rule 2. There's a master, there's an apprentice, and then there's an acolyte. And the acolyte is kind of, again, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, the acolyte acts as like the apprentice to the apprentice, and then once the apprentice has learned everything the master has, then they try to kill him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, we've seen shots of her master, is like that weird zipper mouth. Have you seen that, where it goes all the way up to his ears? There was a trailer on Star Wars on the Star Wars YouTube channel, and someone had commented, it sucks that we're not getting Darth Plagueis and they just made up a new Sith and stuff like that in this timeline. And I've never seen the official Star Wars channel actually comment on a comment, but if you dug into that comment, there was like 50 replies. The official Star Wars channel answered, and it was, I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, just wait, or something like that, like basically a tease. So like I've already thought Plagueis was going to eventually be the main villain, so with that little snippet there too, I think they were trying to deal with a lot of the hate in the comments by maybe giving out a little bit more than what they should have. But again, like, I don't know if the person managing the Star Wars YouTube channel has any idea what the show is about. They just could be a social media person, right? Well, most likely are. But I got a feeling we're going to find out that the master in this whole thing is Darth Plagueis, and
that'd be
this
pretty
person
awesome.
is his apprentice, and May is the acolyte, and maybe we get to a point where they try to overthrow him, and he eventually disposes of them, and then takes on a young Palpatine in the future.
I mean,
I think anything Darth Plagueis, I think, is going to be
Plagueis.
Anything Plagueis is going to be a win, I feel, for Star Wars fans.
It'll bring instant clout to a new series. There's no doubt.
All right, so let's rate the two episodes as a premiere, as in total. What do you got? What do you got for the premiere?
Solid 8.
Solid 8?
Solid 8. I enjoyed it. I'm intrigued. I gave it up to 8 because I thought the writing was great. I gave it up to 8 because I thought the casting and characters were good. And ironically, the reason why, it sounds very hypocritical, the reason why I'm only giving it 8 and not even higher is because it didn't let me stew on it longer, which I know is the right thing to do. Like, you and I like that Andor stuff where it's like 3 episodes of trying to figure out what is happening. I like that they answered it, but at the same time, I'm cool if they didn't. So I might have given it higher if they milked it a bit more.
Yeah, and I know from trailers, the stuff we haven't seen yet is obviously going to be the next episode. And if you treat it as a 3-thing arc, the next episode looks like it's going to have a lot of action and payoff as far as fighting and the Sith master revealing himself and stuff like that.
Okay.
But as these two, I think I was between an 8 and like an 8.3. Okay. But I think I'm leaning more 8. I think it's a solid introduction. It has my attention. I like the way they've laid out the story. I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. Like you said, I thought it looked great. The acting was, I had no complaints with it. It's very comparable to other Star Wars properties, if not some of the performances I thought were above average, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's good. And I'm just intrigued to see where it goes. I think it has the potential to be a pretty big hit.
I agree.
But again, right now it's just potential, and off 2 episodes, solid start. And I said, go back right at the very beginning. It feels fresh, right?
Absolutely.
We're in a timeline with all brand new characters, essentially. The storyline could go in any direction, and I like that they're involving. I mean, it's like it's an investigation of murders, and now it's going to be an investigation into May and who her master is. And I thought it was interesting. They're always like, "Who trained you?" She has, Indara, I think it was Carrie Moss. She's radios in, "I have someone who has force abilities, assault me or whatever," right? So not a single one of them is thinking Sith, dark side, or anything like that. Which
a force user, an unauthorized force user, like that,
which keeps in line with. I know a lot of people are going to have a problem with, back to Phantom Menace when Darth Maul's revealed, right? We haven't seen a Sith in X amount of years, right? You don't want to break that continuity. And it seems like the way they're treating it is, it's almost like they don't believe they're Sith, or they had not even considering it, right? So I thought that so far is a good approach. It's just it'll be interesting to see how they handle it when the red sabers get busted out as early as potentially next episode.
For sure.
Yeah. And again, that's going to be the thing. Where does the series progress and how does it handle that continuity is going to determine where it ranks among people's fans, on how they feel about it. So,
all right.
So that'll wrap it up for us. This episode this week, we decided to just pre-record after it, but from here on out, I believe we'll be live streaming. So if you did enjoy this review, you'll catch us on probably sometime on Wednesdays live, and we could change from here and there. And let us know in the comments what you thought. Were you enjoying The Acolyte, or do you just straight up hate it? I'm definitely welcome to both views, and we'll see everybody next week. Peace out.